Hey guys, good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, December 29th. It is 6:26 right now. We got market opening up in about 4 minutes. So we will be starting shortly. I'm just gonna give it a few moments for people to continue making their way in. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys, looks like people are still joining in. So before we get started, guys, just a disclaimer. I am registered with the CFTC and I'm registered with the NFA as a professional trader. This is my NFA ID. Risk disclosures, futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. You can lose more than your initial investment. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This stream is for information and educational purposes only. Nothing shown is discussed is a solicitation to buy or sell any futures contracts, or to participate in any trading program. Conflict of interest. I may hold my positions in the markets as discussed, but my views may change at any time based on market conditions, meaning I can exit, enter at any point without notifying anybody. Again, this is all for informational and educational purposes, so you guys should not treat this stream as um, trading advice for the most part, or direct trading advice. And lastly, so for hypothetical performance disclaimer, as you guys know from the algo, I have the data down here. Just because the data over here shows that this trade is won, 60% of the time, has a profit factor of 2.8, max equity is less than 10%, doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be what's happening next, right? Like just, and you guys know that obviously, like trading is always going to be different. We have the data here to anticipate what's going to come up, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen next. So again, I have to give you guys this disclaimer, with me being registered as a professional trader. Also, good news and bad news. So the good news is that we have finally gotten approved to onboard to StoneX. So I'm starting onboarding to StoneX today. If you guys are a hedge fund client, you guys want to transfer over to StoneX, let me know, and then we can get that transfer started. Um, yeah, I got the approval last week, and that's the good news. The bad news is if you guys have been on the website, you guys will see that there's no longer a sign up here, right? So if you guys want access to the strategies or anything like that, it's no longer available. You can see there's a big disclaimer here saying that Kodikai Trades no longer is accepting new clients or offering educational services to the public. That was part of the agreement. Me managing the hedge fund, I can no longer educate publicly. So if you guys are still interested in Kodikai trades, just message me. This is still available to previous clients, or if you guys, were clients in the past, you guys can still gain access, but it's just not open to the public. But anyways, market's going to open up shortly, guys. If you guys are looking to take the breakout here, it's not listed as a trade, but it is going to be against momentum. So if you guys are looking to get into the breakout for today, it's likely going to be a buy actually. Yeah, because there's a buy signal that's pending right here, but before this candle, it was a sell. So if you guys are looking to get into the breakout for the day, it's going to be a buy. I'm not taking the breakout entry. Let me just clean this up a little bit. I got too many windows open. Yeah, so we have that entry right there. Market's now open, guys. So there goes the breakout. If you guys are looking to take the breakout on open. Again, I'm not in this position, but if you guys wanted to take it, it's currently running in profit for a buy right there. The This here is pushing up. I think it already hit 40 points, right? So if you guys are going for 40, I mean, it just depends on how you apply the breakout. If you're looking to go for 40 points, great. If you're looking to go for 60 points, it's still active. So it's still running right now. It's on its way up, but the 40 points already hit. As you guys know, for those of you who have taken the breakout, there's a lot of different ways to apply it, right? You either do a 1-to-1, you do a 1-to-2, you do a bigger 1-to-1, 50-50. I mean, this is the more common one, right? More people are doing 50-50, 1-to-1. But if you guys want to stick to the 1-to-2 that we normally do for all the other trades, 60 points have already gotten hit right there. So, all right, guys. Morning, everybody. Again, today is Monday, December 29th. It is 6:31 right now. That's the breakout for the day. It was a buy. The reason why it was a buy is because it's typically against momentum. Um, or I'll put the stats over here. So 629 was a good trade too. Pretty good trade right there. So the buy position happened right there. It had a 10% drawdown, 50% probability overall, profit factor of 1.733. The numbers are good, for this specific trade for buys right there was 69%. So obviously this thing it did play out pretty nicely as it should have. And our next entry is coming up in a few moments. It's going to be against momentum again, not a target entry, but it is going to be a listed entry. Nice. Lila caught it. Great work. Paul caught it as well for 100 points. Nice work, Paul. Let me check the chat real quick. Yeah, Masij, I love that line. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Our whole strategy. Exactly, right? Everything's based off the quantitative data. Um, I know it's so weird because like everybody will, typically if you make the disclosures, you have to make those disclosures, but that's how trading is, right? Everything is based off previous data and previous quantitative statistics, but yeah, you just have to let people know just so they know it's not guaranteed to happen next. Even though, the probabilities, if you have the probabilities on your side and it lines up really well, obviously the next trade is probably going to work out, right? But yeah, I always find that funny as well that those things have to be mentioned. Yeah, Masij said one out of one is better, or yeah, 1 to 1 is better for the breakout. Gives you more space to survive. Mendez caught it as well. Nice work, guys. So, all right, we are looking for the next trade. Next trade is happening in about a few moments. It's going to be against momentum for a buy. So if you guys have my list of entries, you guys already know what's coming up next. Let's check the Discord. So the daily bias for the day. Thanks, Masij, for setting this up. So basically, I used to send this daily bias daily, like pretty much every morning. But Masij has just automated it now, so it gets sent directly to the Discord, right? I used to post it over here under market outlooks, but like the thing is, a lot of people didn't actually look at it, so it kind of made it pointless for me to post it up. So now that Masij just posted it, it's great. It's over here under the premium. So if you guys are in the premium. If you guys want access to the premium, send me a message and we can get you access to the premium. You can't get access on the website anymore though. So before there used to be a link over here to sign up for the premium, but because I had to shut down basically new signups, it's only meant for people who have access to it or had access to it in the past. But anyways, looking at the key fundamental drivers over here, let me just make this a little bigger. Yeah, so the key fundamental drivers over here. Basically, we have holiday liquidity and seasonality. We're currently in the heart of the Santa Claus rally. As we talked about in the past, this is all historical data. Basically, it just indicates that prices still continue to push up, but it's low volume due to the end of the year. Post FOMC digest, following the Federal Reserve's 25-point rate cut in mid-December, bringing it from 3.75 to 3.50. It basically indicates that, the macro narrative has like shifted to a soft landing for 2026. So the market is looking good going into 2026. However, going into 2026, things may change. If you guys want to look at this, I'm not going to read this all. I was going to, but I just realized there's a lot of stuff to cover. So if you guys want to cover this, this is under daily bias and events. If you guys don't see it on your premium list, just go to where it says Cody Kai Trades up here and make sure that you have show all channels enabled to see this. The main thing that's really important here is going to be basically the directional bias, right? So this is what really matters because we want to know which direction we want to trade in. The market bias for today is neutral to mildly bullish. Reason for that's just like I mentioned, Santa Claus rally, everyone's looking for price to go up. So the obvious direction is for a buy. However, this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go straight up, right? It just means price is going to push up for a little bit, maybe consolidate, maybe retrace, and then push back up higher, right? So it's just a longer term macro analysis of like what to look out for here. This is the next entry. It's going to be a no entry, guys. So we have an entry right here at 635. This is against momentum. Max drawdown is 9 point, or let's say 9%. I'm not going to use the points, guys. I think I'm just going to use whole numbers for our max drawdown. So there was an entry right here at 635 against momentum. Max drawdown was 9%, weighted average was 56, overall was 50, buy percentage was 57, the profit factor was 2.44. Because there's already a buy signal here, this is going to be no entry for 635. So, I mean, technically there was supposed to be an entry right here for 635, but like I said, because there was no pending momentum and no against momentum, there was no entry there. But the direction was set by the algo, identifying that price was going to push back up here higher. Just based off the data, right? It has a 57% probability for buys and a profit factor of 2.444. So, I mean, those pretty good numbers, below 10% max drawdown. So it looked good overall. It's just the entry was a no entry because there was no momentum in that direction. So we do have this right here pushing up. Looks like it's about to hit for 60 points. Volatility is pretty decent today. It's currently at 23 ATR. So it's not super high, super low. It's pretty decent. Next entry is in about 10 minutes. It is going to be a listed entry, but not a target entry. Rev's got in late, but got it for 85 points. Nice. It's a big move, Rev. Caught the breakout earlier for 85 points. But yeah, guys, just another reminder, if you guys don't have access to the premium, there's no longer any public access. So if you guys want access to it, or if you guys have been a client in the past, or if you guys had access in the past, just message me. It's just not available to new clients, but if you or new people, but if you want to have access to it, um, you want to have access to my algo, my list of trades, etc. Just send me a message. You guys can always find me on Discord. Or you can go to the website and just click the contact us. If you go to the website, Cody Kai Trades, click on contact us right here. This will come up, put your information, and then I'll get back to you. It's just not, there's no direct way to get access to it anymore. All right, so with that being the case, guys, we got price here kind of just sitting down the middle right now. Volatility here is starting to die down a little bit. Let me go and just mark up some structure here. So if you guys are just joining in, couple entries here which came up, which was the breakout. Breakout hit full TP. This was another entry that came up after. I'm just marking up some structure here to show you guys kind of where price is, I mean, for the most part, sitting. Not that this is relevant for our entries, but this will give you guys an idea where price may bounce if it does come around these areas. No target entries yet. And no listed entries. We had one listed entry over here at 635, but again, like I mentioned, there's no entry there because it was against momentum, and the momentum was already placed. So we will continue to follow along here. So let's take a look at the overall market real quick. So looking over here at the overall market right now on the 1 minute, you can see price is bullish. Price is above the pivots. Trend meter is green. Pivots are angling up. This indicates that we have a bullish bias with regard to the 1 minute. Looking over here on the 5 minute, price is currently bearish. Price is below the pivots. Trend meter is red. Pivots are angling down. On the 10 minute, price is also bearish. 30-minute price is bearish below the pivots. Trend meter is red. Pivots are angling down. Bullish neutral here on the 1 hour, and then bullish on the 4 hour. So it's a little mixed, right? 1 minute's bullish, 4 hours bullish, 1 hour is neutral. Everything else is bearish, 5, 10, 15, or 5, 10, 30. Looking over here at the market structure. So market structure right here, you can see the 1 minute's bullish, 5 minutes neutral, 15 minutes bearish, 30 minutes bullish, 1 hour is bullish, 4 hours bullish. So in the bigger picture here, everything looks pretty nice for a bullish push to the upside. But it doesn't necessarily mean price is gonna, directly go up, right? It's looking like it's pulling back right now because we had this big push here on open for the breakout, and then now it's retracing back down. So as it retraces down right here, we're currently at the London low. See how price is within this area right here? Because price is at the London low, there's one of two things that may happen here. Price is either going to bounce off this area and come right back up, or price may break below and continue dropping, right? Price is currently stuck right there at the London low, right? See how it's stuck right here? If you're looking from the technical side, this is an area of manipulation. This is why we try to avoid these areas here specifically. Like Masij, we talked about this, with the back tests of the other strategies. Typically, this is like the main area which we avoid, right? I know Masij is trying to get like more into my mind with regard to my discretion. When we're looking at the discretion here, this here specifically is what we look out for. We would try to avoid areas of manipulation, which is going to be the sessions, right? Session high, session low, etc. The other things that we try to avoid are news, but that it's the same concept, right? We're just trying to avoid where price manipulation happens. Also, opening price. That's one thing that I also forgot to mention to you. And I'll put a list of red flags here. I think I actually have a list of red flags here. Um, yeah. So basically, red flags when to avoid trades when prices in your sessions, prices in your opening price, prices in your news price, candle pattern or entry is too large, and if price is consolidating or ranging. So these are the main red flags. They're very simple. They pretty much mean the same thing. It's just different areas of manipulation. Sessions, opening price, news price, candles too big. And then if price is ranging or consolidating, because this is like where price tends to have manipulation, right? And that's kind of what's happening right here. So yeah, it's the same concept. It's just at different price points. So like sessions, because that's usually where price tends to, bounce off, reject, consolidate. And then opening price, same thing. See how price is pulling back to the opening price down here? It might do that. It might retest and bounce off it, or price may come below, consolidate a little bit. It's just like the obvious places. Um, let's go back over here real quick to our main chart. So Justice was asking, can we see the strategy tester for 49? Yeah, that's what I have up right here. Justice. So it has a 9% max equity drawdown, total trade sample of 20. So this is a question that Justice asked about yesterday if I do a 4-week sample. The thing is, the 4-week sample is not going to be accurate, right? Because we had Thanksgiving, we had Christmas, we had a lot of holidays around that period. The main thing that you want to look for is a sample size. You want to have a 20 trade sample size. The dates don't really matter. It's that you're having at least 20 trades there. This is the probability. It's 60% overall. Profit factor is 2.861. For the buys here, it's 75%. For the sells here, it's 37%. So yeah, these are the criteria for the target entry, which is coming up. All right, I got the alerts on right there. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. Gotta go turn off the fire alarm. It's ringing. All right, guys, I'm back. All right, so we have a target entry which is coming up in a bit. I don't think it's going to be coming up, to be honest. Uh, yeah, it's going to be a no entry. I can already tell because so the reason why I know it's going to be a no entry is because we don't have uh, a bullish momentum here. And then on top of that, our rule is we can't have a pending momentum within 3 minutes of the trade, right? So the thing is, and I'll just tell you guys where the entry is. It's not a surprise, right? The entry is going to come up right here at 649. Um, so this is a good way to anticipate whether you're going to have an entry or no entry. I already know it's going to be a no entry for the obvious reasons, because it's going to be, and this is what the statistics that I have here. So what I just talked about with justice, and this is a good thing to be aware of. Um, basically we have an entry coming up at 649. This is our first target entry for the day. It has a max equity drawdown of 9%, total probability of 60% for both directions, buyers and sells, profit factor of 2.861. So the numbers here are great on paper, right? This shows that this strategy is very profitable, doing a 1 to 2 risk to reward. The reason why I say that is because the in order for you to be break even, you need to have a 33.33%. Anything above that is positive edge. So with that being the case here, this shows that over a 20-day trading sample period, which is a little over 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks because of the holidays, it has gained a total percentage of 46.90, total profit of 23,000. This is using 10 contracts. And the max equity drawdown was only 10%. So you lost 10% to make 46%, which is huge. Looking over here at the trade analysis, you can see over here for buys, it has a 75% probability for it to win. It basically won 9 out of the previous 12 entries. So this is why we were looking for a buy on this trade. The sells here aren't super great. That's why I'm not looking for a sell, right? Sells have a 37% probability. Like I mentioned, we do everything off quantitative data. So we don't really care about the technicals here. Whatever the technicals are, whatever, right? It doesn't matter to us because we're going off the statistics. If I have a 75% chance of winning a buy position, I'm going to take the buy, right? I'm not going to take the sell. It doesn't mean the sells can't win, but you have a lower probability. For here, it shows that it won 3 out of the previous 8 entries, right? So it's not a bet that I'm willing to take because the probabilities aren't super high. Um, yeah, other than that, let's take a look at the information here. So risk adjusted performance. So the profit factor overall is 2.861. This means that for every loss, you have a win of two to three wins. Since we're doing a 1 to 2, that's more of a 4 to 6 win. So if you have 2 loss or you have 1 loss, you have a probability of winning 4 to 6 times. It's a big difference, right? But this is where it makes a huge difference. Look at the longs right here, right? If you're only taking buys, the profit factor is 6.0. We'll just say 6. There's no point in looking at the decimal points, right? This is what's huge right here because this shows you that if you take the buy position at 649, this over here for 1 loss, you get 6 wins. And because we're doing a 1 to 2, that gives you a 1 to 12 basically risk reward ratio, right? If you're doing a 1 to 1, then yeah, you win, you lose 1, you make 6. But since we're doing a 1 to 2, you lose 1, you make 12. That's huge, right? That's why here this is a target entry because the profit factor is huge for buys. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you guys have my algo, this gives you all the numbers here. This is great on paper, but like I said, the entry here is not going to be for a buy. We don't even have a buy signal, so it's going to be a no entry. So we had a listed entry at 648. That's the one we've been taking. Same thing. There's no entry there because the obvious reasons. There's no bullish momentum. But you can see here again, like I mentioned, on paper, this trade looks amazing, right? If it came up, it would have been great. I would have taken it. This would have been a buy position here if it would have came up. But again, there is none because there's no momentum in that direction. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you guys do have access to my algo, this thing, it gives you all the information you need, right? Max equity drawdown, probability overall, profit factor. But this is where it becomes really, really useful. It's you dive into the specific direction, right? The buys here are very strong, and the profit factor is huge for buys here. If I had to take a bet and I would just take buys for this specific position, it shows you long term, this trade's going to give you a lot of profit. So that's the reason why it's on the trade listed as a target entry. Okay, so no entry right there, unfortunately. We have another entry coming up in about 10 minutes, which is listed, not a target entry. The next target entry is going to happen in about 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to step away for 1 second, guys. If you guys have any questions, hop into the chat. Otherwise, I will be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Man, so looking at that entry right there, looks like the entry would have been pretty nice for a buy. Uh, Here, I gotta change the settings here real quick. So this is going to be the next target entry, of course. Okay, so like I said, we had an entry over here at 649. I mean, it's unfortunate. This trade would have played out pretty nice. It's still running, but yeah, that would have been a great entry right there. It was actually right spot on. I don't know if were looking at this, Masish, but this was like a perfect entry right there. The 648 one too. So the 648 is the one that we've been taking. We've been taking buys pretty much for the past, week or two. Um, because there was no momentum there, we couldn't take the trade. But if you guys were looking at the trades, I mean, there's only been like two different trades that's been coming up. 648, 649, right? That's been the target entry been taking for maybe it's a long time now. That 648 entry has been the entry for about since December 11. So yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. That's been the main entry for the target. I wish it would have been an entry. So that was the one we were trying to get into. If that was the case, that'd been great. That's the 648, and there's another one right here, which is 649 right after. They would have overlapped, but they both would have hit pretty nicely. It's frustrating sometimes because it's like, dude, we've been waiting for this trade and it just doesn't come up because it doesn't meet the criteria, which is fine. I mean, that's the whole point of the strategy. But yeah, it sucks that it plays through so nicely the days that it doesn't actually meet the criteria. It's all good. But anyways, this just goes to show that, the algo here is working. It's working perfectly fine. We already had the statistics there showing that the buys were great. The only problem is that we didn't have momentum in that direction. So it's the reason why we didn't take it. Nice. Yeah, Masif said, yeah, he's in it. Order flow looked good as well from the data. Nice. Yeah. It's it's good to have confluences, like you mentioned, Masif, order flow and stuff like that. But we have to remember to keep it as a confluence, right? Not that what you're doing is wrong at any point, but yeah, because we don't want to overfit. Yeah, because obviously the more confluence is better. But like just the standalone data was great on paper. Plus you have the order flow analysis. Plus you have the technicals. Plus you have structure. There's other confluences you can add to it to make it better. I wonder if there were sessions around here. I think there was, right? Yeah, so this is the reason why I don't use the sessions for the algo entries, right? Because price was right at the sessions right here. So if that was the case, this trade, or actually no, we would have taken it still. Yeah. So the one was right here, but the next one would have probably been skipped because of the sessions, right? And looking at this right here, price is exactly, it's doing exactly what I talked about earlier, right? We mentioned that the sessions over here is where manipulation tends to happen, and that's exactly what happened here, right? Price came up, got manipulated, and then it came right back down. So this is why it's important to use certain things to know when to avoid certain trades. Again, red flags right there when price is near the sessions, because stuff like this happens, like these became red flags for a reason, right? I always lost trades around the red flag. That's why I stopped trading around those points. And then again here, if you scroll in a little closer, see, this is exactly where you don't want to be trading, right? You don't want to be trading at the sessions. You don't want to be trading at the opening price because look what happened here. Price came up, bounced directly off the sessions. This could have easily stopped you out. And then again, price pushed up to the opening price and then would have done a full-on reversal here, right back down. Yeah, CJ said to keep my sessions on at all times. If you know, you know. Yeah, exactly. For those of you who've been trading with me for a while, I created this indicator for this specific reason. A lot of people, they overlook this. It's such a simple thing to look at, which is the session high lows. Um, the thing is, a lot of people actually trade at these session high lows, right? They look for these points to trade at. For me, I'm looking to avoid because obviously there's like, if this doesn't show you manipulation, well, not, it doesn't really mean manipulation specifically, but If this doesn't show you that this is an important level to pay attention to, I don't know what will, right? Because look at the wick rejections. The wick rejections are literally off the lines that were already drawn, right? We drew these lines way over here. So I drew the opening price here on open, and these sessions have been up since London session, since London open. So with that being the case, we already knew these lines were going to be here. And you can see how price respects these lines almost perfectly. And this all comes from experience, right? This isn't like some random lines I drew up. It's we've been trading for so many years that we've seen, okay, manipulation tends to happen at these areas, and this is why we avoid them for, obviously these very specific reasons. So we have an entry coming up right here. This is going to be a no entry. So I'll put the list up of trades a little later, once we get to our next target entry. But again, we had a listed entry here at 658. It's with momentum, has a max drawdown of 9%, weighted average of 51% probability, overall 50% probability, buys at 53, sells at 42, and a profit factor of 2. So this shows that this trade will tend to have two wins for every loss. And since you're doing a 1 to 2, it's more of a four wins for one for every loss. This is a no entry, and the reason for that is because we were looking for a buy. The probabilities for buy were at 53%, while the sells were at 42%. So it indicates that the buys here are stronger. The reason why there's no entry here is because there's no buy here, right? You're trading with momentum, and because we have a sell momentum right here, this trade wouldn't be taken, right? It's just one of those trades that you skip. There's no entry. But again, if this was an entry, the entry would have actually happened right there, and it would be running in profit as we speak. Not in this position, of course, but just an indication that this is where the entry would have happened if it did come up. This was just a listed entry, not a target entry. The reason why it's listed and not target is because it doesn't meet the criteria for a target entry, right? Let me put the criteria up here real quick so that you guys can see. So this is the criteria. In order for it to be a listed entry, it has to have at least a 50% weighted average, 40% or 50 for both overall and weighted, max drawdown of under 10%, profit factor of 1.5. This meets all the criteria for minimum. For the target criteria, it has to have a weighted average of 60%. Like I mentioned, this one has a 51%, so obviously it's not there. And then for the overall, it has to have a 55%. Overall is at 53%, so that doesn't meet the criteria. So it meets minimum criteria to be a listed entry, but not a target entry. We're looking for really spot on trades here because you want to take the trade with the highest probability and the lowest probability of it losing. So that's why the weighted average and overall average has to be high enough, and the max drawdown has to be low enough so that this shows that it has a high win rate, but also low loss rate. You're trying to put two and two together, have the best of both worlds, which doesn't happen very often. That's why for the target entries, there's only like one or two entries typically per day. Most of the time, there are going to be no entries. So. Let's see. Question from Glenn. Glenn is asking, Sean, if you're planning on taking only one entry per day, would it be better to use the algo and the 5 minute chart just to filter out the noise? Maybe you can get a higher percentage of trades. Um, Not really. The thing is, it doesn't make a difference whether it's on the one or the five. The thing with the 5 minutes that we're gonna have maybe less, if no entries at all, right? The thing is, we already have only one or two entries on the 1 minute. So if we were to go on the 5 minute, you probably would just have no entries at all because the thing is the criteria is so high, right? Like if anything, it would be the same thing and you just have to lower the criteria. And the problem with going on the 5 minute is that you'd have to adjust the target stop loss, right? We have a fixed target stop loss of 60/30. On the 5 minute, it's so just to make things simple, it's not going to make a difference because we would have to lower our criteria for the 5 minute because there's just going to be less entries. And I think I'm not sure if you have the data, Missy. Do you have the data on the 5 minute? Or do you have an idea of like what the data looks like? Yeah, okay. So Masij actually has the data on the 5 minute and he said it's not good. So yeah, it just there'd be no entry. So the 5 minute wouldn't be beneficial. It'd actually be worse. So yeah, Messi said no entries. Yeah, so there's always going to be a balancing factor, right? If you want to do the 1 minute, this is the criteria for the 1 minute. If you want to go on the higher time frames, you would just have to change the criteria. It just wouldn't be at 60%. You'd probably have to look for something that has lower below a 50% probability. Yeah, Messi said you can do it with the 2 minute, but that's max. Anything above that, you're gonna have like literally no entries, even for like low criteria. So yeah, I mean, good question, Glenn. But yeah, I've tried to look at it too. Let me take this off because there's no entry here. I don't want you guys to think we're in a position there. Um, but yeah, and this one too. But yeah, like what I mentioned with CJ. So CJ uses the 10 minute, but only as a confluence, right? CJ doesn't actually enter on the 10 minute. He uses as a confluence and then enters with different strategies, of course. Um, for this specific algo, it's always going to be better on the 1 minute because you want to know exactly how everything's moving by minute, right? So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind when you guys are looking for entries here. Like if you want to go on a granular like analysis or magnifying like exactly the entries, it's always going to be the 1 minute. The 1 minute's always going to be the best. The problem with a lot of people where they can't trade on the 1 minute is that they don't have this data, right? You need to have the data to be able to trade on the 1 minute. Otherwise, if you're trading on the 1 minute blindly, it's going to be a lot of noise. And I think that's what Glenn was trying to get across is basically, he wants to figure out ways to filter out noise. There's going to be a ton of noise on the 1 minute. There always is going to be noise. But if you have the data that price moves in a specific way on the 1 minute, then you don't really care about the noise because there's going to be noise. But when you look for specific entries, like look at our entries here, Glenn. There's no noise here, right? It just goes up. It either wins or it loses. Same with this one right here, right? It either goes up or it goes down. Same with this one right here. It either goes up or it goes down. We're not going to take trades where price is stuck in the consolidation because um, the statistics wouldn't show. Like if there was noise for this specific entry, there would be like the main thing here would be this. So if you go down to trade analysis, you'd look at bars per trade, right? So this trade will typically take about 10 minutes to hit for both buys and sells. For wins over here, it usually runs for about 14 minutes. For losses, it runs for about 5 minutes. If this thing runs for like more than 20 or 30 minutes, then okay, that's going to be full of noise, right? But this shows that it hits within 14 to 5 minutes, basically. 10-minute average. Yeah, so if you want to filter out the noise, you would just go to trade analysis and then you look at the statistics here and it shows you that for all the trades which came up within the sample, they don't last more than 10 minutes overall. You just want to make sure because the thing is you don't want to be holding on to a 1 minute position for like more than 10 minutes usually, right? You're holding on to it for 20, 30 minutes. That's where you get caught in the noise, of course. Um yeah, because the thing is if you're trading on the higher time frames, you're actually going to get caught in more noise because you're going to be stuck in periods where there's no volatility at all. That's why you'll see people who take trades that are they're trading on the 5 minute or the 10 minute and they're holding on to it for like an hour or maybe 2 hours because that's actually it looks like there's no noise, but there is actually more noise on the higher time frames because it's just one big candle or one candle which has 10 noisy candles within it. Um, I think that's a big misconception that a lot of people get into. When people trade on the higher time frames, they think that there's less noise, but the 1 minute candle is just like, for example, you're trading the 5 minute. See how there's noise right here? I'm just going to show you. See how there's noise right here, price going back and forth? That's a 5 minute candle. So like literally there's more noise on the higher time frames if you bring it down to a gradual level where you can see the actual candles movement versus the 5 minute. So if I go to the 5 minute here, see, it looks like there's no noise here, right? The same thing. It looks like price is moving down, but if you go down on the smaller scale, of course, you'll see there is a lot of noise right there. It's just you don't see it because you're on a higher time frame. Yeah, CJ said right. I'm currently in the 650 entry on the 10 minute for a sell, but I definitely pay attention to what's happening on the 1 minute. Yeah, the 1 minute's always going to be more important if you want to, for the most part, dial into actual price action. You just have to be able to filter out what's important and what's not. But all right, so there was a 658 entry which came up right here. That was a no entry. So I'm looking at the list right now, guys. A lot of no entries for today. This is no surprise. So like, yeah, I mean, honestly, there's no surprise here that there's no entries because we're right next to New Year's Eve, right? Today's the 29th, tomorrow's the 30th. Wednesday is the 31st for New Year's Eve. So this is New Year's week, basically. If you guys have traded during New Year's, this is normal. There's usually some movement like within the first 3 minutes, or if not less. You can see market move here on open up until about 7 o'clock, and then it died out, right? This is normal. It's not that this is unusual or something to be careful for. I mean, this is just the market now because we're getting closer and closer to New Year's. This is why I typically don't like to trade during the holidays because this is what happens. Market gets slow, there's nothing to take, you get stuck in the position forever. Um, if you guys looked at the statistics for this week, um, or last week actually, so last week was a break-even week if you took the target entries. So we didn't take any trades on Monday. There was a loss on Tuesday. There was a win on Wednesday, which was Christmas Eve, and then there was a loss on Friday. Obviously, we wouldn't have traded those days. We didn't. Um, but yeah, basically, it was a loss on Tuesday and Friday, which is negative 2R, a win on Wednesday, which was a positive 2R. It basically closed out at break even for the week. So typical news, or not news, typical trading week, I guess you could say, for for Christmas week, and then obviously this is New Year's week for us here. Let's see. So PTF said Masij on the 20 days versus 10 days. Have you looked at using the 10 or 15 days for confirmation of the 20 days? It seems it might pick up earlier when the algo is changing, but you'd still be using the 20 minute as main signal. Yeah, no, I agree. So what PTF over there mentioned was, using the lower sample sizes to identify shifts in probability. We talked about that before. The thing with the shifts in probability is right now the market's kind of slow during the holidays, so we're using a 20-day sample. As we get into the busier market, like spring season, we'll chop it down to the 15 or the 10, or you can use both. You can use 15 or 10. You can have probabilities kind of listed across the board with that. The 20 would be used for actual entries, so we have a big enough sample size, and then you can use a lower sample size to identify shifts in not just trends but probability. Right. So yeah, it's a good thing there that PTF mentioned. Uh, and that's kind of what we're doing. I think once the market picks up, we're going to use a smaller sample size because we want to see how it shifts. I mean, here's the statistics for this right here. So let me just make this bigger. So this is the next target entry. You guys can see the trend here is it flows pretty nicely, right? Wins a little bit, loses a little bit, wins a little bit. It was break even here, basically. Well, not break even, but it was winning and losing around November 28th up until December 10th. And then it had a strong winning streak right here, pulled back a little bit, and then another win streak right there. And then it's pulling back a little bit here. So you can see there's periods where it pulls back and periods where it pushes right through. So just things to look at. And all the statistics are here, of course. So again, if you guys have access to the algo, this data is invaluable. This pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about a specific point in time of the market. Um, if you guys are not familiar with how the algo works, basically what it does is it runs 24 hours a day or 24, basically every minute for 24 hours a day. And you can put it for as long of a sample size as you want. Basically, what we're looking for is we're looking for the momentum swings that are happening in the market, right? We're looking for the bigger players to kind of push price. And the algo tells us where the big players are pushing price, right? Because if you look at our entries, we identify momentum almost every time, right? Look at the entry right here. It pushes right through. If you look at our entries, they never just stay flat. There's always movement at the time of our entry. The uh the downside or the good side is that we're identifying movement. The downside is that we're not always going to be in the exact proper direction, right? Because sometimes it might spike opposite of us. We identified momentum, but obviously, you can never be 100%. when looking at this. It's just we have the edge to identify where movement's going to happen. And if you guys don't want to take the strategy as is, you guys can always apply different strategies that align with the specific time, right? So for example, if we have an entry coming up right here in the next minute or so, and you see an MPSV2 setting up, you can take that MPSV2 with confidence because you know there's going to be momentum at that time. That's a that's like the best way of doing it, right? Maybe not taking it blindly, but using the probabilities there to identify where it should be going. Let's see. Joe mentioned your entry at 716 on the algo is for a sell, but the algo on TradingView says buyer bias. Let's check, Joe. So you know what? You're right. I put the numbers at backwards. Why are the numbers off? It's weird. Okay, it's supposed to be for a buy, guys. It's my bad. I think the numbers were misinputted on that one because the bigger number is correct, but the smaller number here is off. I must have sped through this. So I'm going to fix that right now. Yeah. So the trade's actually supposed to be a buy for 716. I'll put the list up in a second, guys. Here, I'll actually put that over here as well. Thanks, Joe, for mentioning that. Here, I'll just 716. Target entry for buy. Yeah, thanks, Joe, for the heads up on that. Let me update it on the spreadsheet. 45, 45. Okay, well, that's good to know. So now that we have that there, I think this is going to be a no entry. Yeah, obviously no entry there. All right, that's fine. Mondays are usually not good days anyways. If you look at the list of trades, guys, there's actually no entries at all. I'll pull up the list of trades now because we're basically done for the most part with regard to entries here. Yeah, let me just update this real quick. Yeah, that was a good call, Joe, because I would have been looking for possible entry here. Actually, the trade still wouldn't have came up because see how we have the flickering momentum here? Again, looking at the target entry, no flickering momentum within 3 minutes of the trade, right? And we've had flickering momentum come up from 715, 711, etc. And because the entry's at 716, trade here would have been skipped. If you guys want to look for it, I mean, feel free to look at it, but trade here would have been a no entry, of course. Okay, so with that being the case, let me show you guys the listed trades for the day. Yeah, so unfortunately, the entire list were no entries for the day. So again, we looked at that 635 entry. That entry would have been a good entry if it would have met the criteria, but it just didn't because it was against momentum, right? Um, yeah, there was just no entries for the day. 648 right here. This was for a buy. And over here at 648, there was a sell momentum, right? So just a bunch of no entries. This over here at 629, this was an entry as well, but we don't take against momentum trades. That's why it's in yellow. So I mean it's all good. The algo here was spot on with the direction. So what I mean by direction is if you weren't looking for momentum, but you just looked at the direction of the trade, right, buy or sell, a lot of these trades here would have actually played through pretty nicely. Right, these here that we marked up. So it's all good. Um, this is just one of those days where there's just nothing to take, right? So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'll take another screenshot of this and then I'll just put it on the chart here if you guys want to look at it. But this is a typical Monday. Mondays, Masij has done the data for it. The uh the Mondays are usually not good days to trade anyway, so I'm okay. I would like to take one more win before the end of the year, but again, I'm not going to force any trades here. I will be trading until uh possibly until New Year's Eve. I know we're going to trade tomorrow for sure, but New Year's Eve, maybe New Year's Eve. We'll see. I got to look at the data. If the data is good, then great. If not, then obviously kind of pointless. We have another entry right here, so I'm just going to I'm gonna put the screenshot up here so that you guys can see the entries. All right, so the next entry is going to come up right here at 7:21. Uh, yeah, 7:21. So this is going to be with momentum. It has a max equity drawdown of 9%, weighted average of 55%, overall probability of 50. Buys have a 40. Sellers have a 60% probability. The profit factor is 1.86. This obviously doesn't meet the criteria for a target entry because this would have to be at least 55. This would have to be at least 60, and it's for a sell. So if you guys want to take this trade here at 7:21, feel free to take it. There is pending momentum, so obviously it's not going to be one of those good entries because it's happened within the first 33 minutes. So the reason why the flickering momentum is such an important criteria, this indicates that the trend and the momentum is not in line, right? The reason for that's because, so for example, here the trend is bearish and the momentum is bearish, right? And we keep getting a flickering buy momentum here. This indicates that price wants to push up, but it just doesn't have that power yet, right? So the problem with taking a sell here is that if you take a sell and price finally has that power to push through, you're going to get stopped out. That's why the flickering momentum has become one of the most important factors here that we've been looking at, right? Obviously the the and this goes in line with price action, right? Some with live price action, because live price action is telling us here that price has trying to push up, but it just doesn't have that push behind it, right? And if you're looking for a sell here, that makes it risky because yeah, the sell can play through because it's been strongly holding for a sell. The main issue is that, this bullish push can happen at any moment. Basically, when you see that pending momentum come up, that indicates that there's some big orders pushing price up. Like it's trying to push price up, but it just doesn't have enough orders to really break through. Eventually, it's going to break through. It's a matter of time until it does. So, yeah, that's why the flickering momentum has become such an important factor for us because the data here shows us historical data, but the flickering momentum shows us real-time price action, right? And see how price here started to dump down? Again, the algo here is on point with identifying the direction if you have the probabilities in your favor, but it just doesn't align because our entry is not in that direction. So with the 716 entry over here, it was for a buy, but again, there's no buy entry because there was no buy momentum there. Yeah, Masij said you can use the extension, guys, if you don't want to miss any entries. Yeah, the extension is super, super helpful. For me personally, I like to do it by hand. This is why I still do it by hand because I still do my own analysis to determine if it's a good trade or not, right? So like whenever I'm looking at my entries here, I look at the statistics and I look at everything in line basically to identify, okay, should I take this trade? Should I not? There was actually more trades that were listed here last night, but I took off a bunch because I looked deeper into the data and I was like, okay, this doesn't actually look that good on paper. Like it looked good with the probability and the profit factor, but the max drawdown was like 14%, 20%. It was really high. So it showed that it went through some pretty deep drawdown phases after winning. And we don't really want trades like that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Again, guys, another reminder, I'll send an email to all of the hedge fund clients. Great news if you guys didn't hear it earlier, we did get approved to transition to StoneX, so I'm starting to onboard new clients to StoneX as of today. I'll send an email to you guys. If you guys want to stay on NinjaTrader for a while, that's completely fine. I could trade on both platforms. But of course, StoneX is going to be the best option because we have a lot of issues with slippage on NinjaTrader. And there's a couple different factors for that. It's the copier because I'm trading like 70 accounts, the copier is always going to have some lag. So that's one thing. The copier is going to have a big problem with regard to executing the trades in order, and then slippage that already comes with NinjaTrader in general, right? There's slippage just in general. Like if I hit buy, it's not going to execute right away. It's going to execute maybe a split second later, maybe a second later, maybe 2 seconds later, and that's a problem, right? It's a big problem because that split second could mean 5 or 10 points. It's a big slippage point. So, and that means slippage going in and slippage going out. So if you guys are not familiar with what we're moving to the institutional broker StoneX. You guys can't sign up to StoneX by yourself. You guys have to sign up through our account manager because it is an institutional broker. So they don't just sign up random people. Like you can't just sign up and be like, oh, I want to use StoneX. You could probably use a retail side, but if you want to use the institutional side, you have to go through our account manager to walk you through the process and get your account linked with the hedge fund. It's a little different now. So when I'm trading with NinjaTrader, guys, I'm putting in individual orders per account, but with StoneX, we're using bunched orders or block orders. So basically, instead of every account taking a specific contract size, what happens is we take one big contract size. So for example, if I enter a position here, we'll just say I was going to enter a buy here, right? Instead of taking like my own 10 contracts to just enter this for 10 contracts, I'd be entering with like 100 contracts or 200 contracts, right? Where we're entering with institutional size. So it's going to be enough to really push price in a direction, right? Because we're putting a really fat order in the market. So it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting because before we talked about, oh, it'd be cool if we can push market. Like with StoneX, we're actually gonna be pushing market if I can. Maybe not now. It's gonna push maybe price, maybe a few points, right? Maybe 5 points or so. But once we start putting in more size, and I have a long wait list of clients, so we're gonna be adding a lot more clients over the next couple of days. Um, if we enter with about 500 contracts or so, it's enough to really push price, 5 or 10 points or and whatnot. It's like whenever we enter a position, it's like going to automatically push price like maybe 20 points or so, 10 to 20 points. And that's good for us because we're gonna get in at the forefront. Basically, we're gonna push price a little bit, and then we're gonna anticipate people to bandwagon onto our trades and then push us to target. So exciting. It is pretty exciting. Yeah, I think I have about like 20 people waiting to be onboarded. And with those 20 people, that's another 100 to 200 contracts right there to be entered per position. So it's gonna be it's gonna be I'm curious to see how it's gonna affect, our trading because it's gonna really help. I think that's the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing is really getting that first push, right? So for example, here, we didn't take this trade here, but obviously there was an institutional player that pushed price up right here, right? Because this was an opening price. This was at 649. With that being the case here, it we had some nice institutional push right here, right? If we measure this candle, it's like a 28-point candle move or bigger actually. It's like more of a 30-point candle move where obviously there was an institutional push and then there was a follow-up right here. Our key thing and our main goal here is to get in right at that exact point, right? We want to get in before price pushes. So we'll we'll see. I'm really excited for 2026, guys. Hopefully you guys are excited as I am because it's like everything is starting to fall into place, right? We have the institutional broker, we have the data to indicate which, we should be applying. We have everything kind of in line. We've been testing out this algo for a couple months now, kind of trying to improve and get better with our statistics and criteria. But yeah, I mean, we're always going to be improving. It's just I'm excited to see where this goes for the next, I guess, 6 to 8 months into the new year. Let's see. Lila said, great going with you. How to proceed. Yeah, Lila, I'll send you an email. Just make sure to keep a lookout for your email, guys. For all of the hedge fund clients, expect an email to come within today or tomorrow with all of the information to There's going to be two different ways of doing it. So either you can clear out your account with NinjaTrader and then redeposit it into the StoneX account, or I can possibly help you with doing a full transfer. Basically, the FCM will just, StoneX will contact NinjaTrader and it's like, hey, Lila wants to move all of her funds to this account, and they'll just do a full transfer. So we can do that as well, Lila. It's just up to you, however you want to do it. Yeah, exciting stuff, guys. Hopefully we can get everybody on StoneX by next month, and then we'll start dropping some really big size per trade. So dumping in the block orders. All right, guys, market is pretty dead right now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, I mean, there's not really much going on here. You can see prices literally going sideways as we speak. Let me go over here and just mark up some structure. This is normal, right? Like I mentioned, we're going into the new year. This is New Year's week. So the volatility right here is just dead for the most part. All right, we'll see where this ends up going, guys. If you guys are looking for entries here, so let's see. I'm gonna go to my list again. So 721 is for a sell with momentum. Okay, so this was a listed entry, not a target entry, but a listed entry. So this trade's actually running right now. This one's active at the moment. This is the 721 entry. Here, let's go over the statistics on this one to show you guys. Let's look at the paper to see what it looks like. So this trade right here at 721, this had a max equity drawdown of 9.70. You can have it listed right there. So basically it indicates that there has been, and you can do the math here because it's by 2%. So just if you want to do the exact math, you do 9.70 divided by 2. This shows that back-to-back losses, it had a max of 4.85. So basically 4 to 5 back-to-back losses throughout a 20-day trading period. With this amount of drawdown, 9%, it had a probability or a winning percentage of 27%. So it lost 9%, but it made 27%, right? That's a good exchange right there. And it made a total profit of 13,750. The overall probability here is 50% for both buys and sells. Profit factor is 1.846. This is good, but not great. This indicates that for every loss, there was 1.846 wins, right? And since we're doing a 1 to 2, so you do 1.846 times 2. And again, everything here is based off math. So for every loss, you're actually making a win of 3.692 R. And we're talking about R multiple. So for every loss, you lose 1 R because it's 1 to 2. For every win, you'd make, or within the 20-day period, you'd make 3.6 wins with regard to R multiple. The probabilities over here, it's a 40% probability for buys, 60% probability for sells. The trade here is almost going to hit target right there. It's pretty much spot on with identifying it. And the profit factor here is 2.483 for sells and then 1.33 for buys. So obviously you want to take a sell here because everything lines up perfect for the sell, right? And you can see here, we already identified this before it even happened. So already had the trade listed there at 721. And you can see over here, the short position was taken right there and it's running to profit as we speak, 60 points with like literally no drawdown. Right, price kind of sat there for a little bit and then it came down finally to where we were aiming for. So again, this shows you the power of the algo, right? The algo over here is spot on with identifying momentum before it actually happens, right? So it's pretty solid move right there. Yeah, Paul said I'm in the trade. I got in later because I wanted to confirm the sell squeeze. Yeah, smart move there. And again, price here is moving. We have another entry here, which is listed at 739. This is going to be a buy position against momentum. So realistically, you want this trade to hit before 739, right? Because at 739, this indicates that there's going to be a reversal starting to set up. So ideally, this trade should hit pretty soon. This trade's actually been running a lot longer than it typically does. So looking over here, the average is about 8 minutes. So the average runtime for this position here is supposed to hit within 8 minutes. So this trade should have been done already, especially for sells here. For sells here, it runs for about 6 minutes. So if you have these numbers here and you have the statistics, this would probably tell you, okay, it's probably a good time to pull out of this position here for a partial profit, right? I think that would be my main, that'd be my first thing here to look at. Um, Obviously, it's not good to pull positions for partials, but this trade's been running for way too long. Usually it should run for about 8 minutes. It's running now for about 14 minutes, almost double, right? Almost double the time. So again, this is why the numbers here are important. And this is why you have to analyze everything to the T, right? Just the max equity drawdown is good to start off. Like this is all good starting data, right? It's good to know what the max equity drawdown is, how many times does it lose, how many times does it win, what's the profit factor. But then once you're holding on to this position for too long, and this also goes with the fact that we're trading during New Year's week, right? This is New Year's week, so obviously it's supposed to be very choppy and slow. If that's the case, you should have the understanding that okay, this trade doesn't typically run for this long. So if it doesn't run for this long, I should probably get out of this position while I can, right? So like I probably wouldn't have exited like this far in. The exiting point should have been a little earlier, right? Maybe around the 10-minute mark, the 12-minute mark. For buys here, it lasts for about 12 minutes max. So if you look at that there, I mean, if you measure this for 12 minutes, like, all right, I should have probably pulled out like right here. You don't have to pull out, but using the data to your advantage, probably a good time to start thinking whether to pull or not. Nice. So Paul over here actually pulled out of his at 40 points in profit. Again, the reason why I would say that this is a good time to pull is because it's starting to overlap with the reversal trades here, right? It shows that there's a reversal starting to happen here at 639, 640. And also there's been pending momentum here. So here's where it would really concern me a lot. So the entry happened over here at 621. I think at 625 I would have started to pull, right? Because sorry, not 620, 725. So the entry right here was at 721, and you started to get a reversal price action right here, meaning we had a pending momentum, which was flickering at 725, right? So if you go to 725 right here, actually it would be too early. I think 725, this wouldn't really matter very much. I think once you got down to 734, because it still hasn't had its move. Now that it's had its move down to the downside right here, this is where it would have been a little more important because right here you can see the flickering momentum started coming up at 740 or 734. Yeah, right there. So I probably wouldn't have gotten out a little too early, but I probably would have gotten out somewhere around here because the flickering momentum started coming up at 734. So again, these tools are used to help you make an educated decision, right? Based on probability and based off statistics. Every number here means something, right? They're not just random numbers that are on here. This shows you how much the trade loses. This shows you how much it profits. This shows you the probability of it winning versus losing. This shows you how much do you typically win versus loss. The numbers over here indicate, okay, are buys better or sells better? And if you go lower over here, this gives you even more of an understanding of like how long to hold the position for because it doesn't ever run this long, right? This is the average. Um, yeah, all these numbers here mean something. So like as long as you know how to use this information, this will help you infinitely, right? If you know how to use it properly. So we got prices over here. Price is still coming down. So this is where it becomes a problem with like me specifically. For me specifically, I don't like pulling trades early, right? The reason why I don't like pulling trades early is because it messes with your risk to reward. Like for example, if you pulled out of a position here, I mean, if you pulled out for 40, that'd been maybe okay. But if you pulled out for like 30 or 20, it would mess with your trade, your risk to reward. So although I mentioned that the numbers here do help with identifying when to pull out of trades early, for me personally, I probably would have just let the trade run because I'm more of I'm an all-in type person, right? It's either I'm going to lose a position completely or I'm going to win it completely. Otherwise, it's just not going to make sense, right? If you look at the data over here, in order for you to be really profitable, you have to hold on to the position. Otherwise, the R multiples are going to drop quite a bit. So looking at the data over here, for every trade that was taken, if you took every single trade, you'd have a 8R for November until December. And then if you just took all of them as well, or no, if you took every trade that came up, but if you just took one trade per day, you'd have a 16R. So basically, if you're trading for all of November, actually not all of November 3rd up until today, the R multiple would be a 16R. For just December, it's at 5R because last week was break even. And then for today, there's obviously no entry. So again, this trade's still running, and everybody has their own style of trading, right? If you're too scared to hold on to a position the whole way, then you can use this data to pull out of the trade early. For me, again, like I mentioned, I don't like pulling out early because I don't want it to mess with my R multiple. I'd rather take a loss than mess with my R multiple because I want it to be pretty consistent. Let's see, question from Kenny. Kenny's asking, when does the live stop? The live ends at 8 o'clock or somewhere around that time period. Sometimes I end earlier, sometimes I stay later. It just kind of depends how the market's moving. Right now, the market's kind of dead, so we're probably going to end a little earlier, unless there's questions, right? If there's questions, I'll stay on and answer questions. But other than that, we typically wrap it up around 8 o'clock. It's just a dead market right now, so there's just no point in hanging around for that long. Because, if you trade during a dead market like this is gonna for the most part, it usually does more harm than good, right? Because what happens is you start to, not you specifically, but in general, people start to FOMO trade and they just kind of take random entries because they want to get into something. Um, the market's choppy right now. There's no directional move. I'm just following this like 721 entry. Obviously, there's no entry here at 739, or I mean, there was an entry, but it's not one that would have been taken. These trades would have been fading each other at this point. Let's see. So 739. Yeah, this is what I don't like about the dead market because when you're in a dead market like this, then the trades start to they start to fade each other, right? Because right here we had a sell entry at 721 and then now you have these against momentums. The thing is I would never take the against momentum trades. So wouldn't really matter too much, but the probabilities and the numbers for these trades actually look pretty good. This 739 entry actually looks pretty nice with regard to criteria here. So it has a 7% max drawdown, 55% weighted, overall 50, buy percentage of 60, sell percentage of 40, the profit factor is 2. So there's a couple things here that look good. The max equity drawdown, and then also the follow-up right after it. So both of these here would both be for buys and they would be running alongside each other. So there's actually two trades right now, which is fading the 721. But if I was to have a choice, I'd always go with the with momentum trades versus the others. Yeah. Let's see. Rev is asking, how's the chatbot coming along? So with the chatbot, honestly, I don't know. You'd have to, the seizures have to answer that. So for the chatbot guys, I think for that specific tool, it's not necessarily, unless you're trading a live account, it's probably not going to be very useful to a lot of people because I don't think you can use it with a lot of prop firms. I mean, I looked at Apex and you might be able to use it to pass accounts, like pass evals, but I don't think it can be used to take, trades on your funded account. The thing with Masij is we're probably going to be, or Masij will probably be releasing a version that's going to be compliant with like normal trading. So here's a problem with the chatbot, and this is probably something that Masij hasn't really ran into it yet either. We're kind of in a slow market right now. We're kind of in a slow market, so it's easy to get those fills in both directions. The problem is I don't know how the market's gonna be next year, but if you guys have traded during a volatile market, it can really destroy your account. So yeah, Masij is going to release a version soon, but you guys have to keep in mind that with that specific tool, use it very use it with a lot of caution, guys. Don't make it your main strategy or your main thing to use it with trading. I mean, yeah, use it to pass your evals and stuff like that, but I would be very careful using it for even with a live account because the market's not always going to be like this, right? Like right now, this chop is like very, very good for that type of strategy, not a specific strategy, but that specific tool because it's choppy, right? It's a slow chop. I think that's the thing about it. It's a slow chop. Once you start to get like where it's moving like 100 points back and forth, it's gonna it's gonna cause problems. Plus plus don't use it with the copier as well. I don't know if you tried it with the copier message, but like, yeah, the when I've used it with the copier, it has a lot of problems because like some of the orders will be delayed, some of them will get filled, some of them won't, and you have some trades that are running, some trades that aren't running, and it really messes it up. So if you were to use a tool like that, make sure to just use it on a single account. Yeah, exactly. Even see, shit, if you use a copier, you'll get destroyed. Yeah, don't do that. Because the thing is, there's so many pending orders, and not all of them are gonna get filled. Because like it might get filled on some, and then some of them won't get filled, or they'll get canceled out, or there's just it's a lot of bad that can happen with using copier with that specific tool. Yeah, Masij said it takes like 30 trades a minute. If you don't use at least two or three contracts, you'll get eaten by the fees. Yeah, I agree with you, Masij, 100%. Yeah, the risk is high because you can go from like one contract to like five contracts to 10, it's a lot. It's a lot of risk. And then the candles are moving so fast, uh, that you'll get eaten up with the fees, you'll get eaten up with slippage, you'll get eaten up with, there's just a lot of bad that can happen. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to explain to you guys that there's a lot of risk using a chop bot or the chop bot in general. Yeah, Masij said also when I use the bot to get past evals on three accounts, they contacted me to see what I was doing. I'm not sure they like it. Yeah, they don't. They don't because it's taking so many trades at once. Um, yeah, they actually contacted me when I was doing that manually. So if you guys remembered, we had the momentum quick scalp. If you guys remember that strategy, no, we were in and out of positions within like split seconds, and Apex did not like that. None of the prop firms like that. Um, so they ended up creating a rule. So a lot of prop firms they require that you hold on to the position for at least like 30 seconds. Like I think Tradeify, that's one of the rules now. It wasn't a rule before, but um and I don't know if it was because of us because we were doing the micro scalp entries. I'm sure other people had similar strategies, but yeah, they call it micro scalping where uh basically they don't let you hold it. Like you have to hold on to the position for like at least 30 seconds, if not a minute. It's dumb. I know it's dumb because if you're scalping, a lot of these trades hit within a few seconds, but they require it. I think Apex is the only prop firm that is okay with micro scalping, but they are going to question you about it. They will question you, and if they don't like it, they'll shut down your account. That's the last thing you want to happen. Yeah, exactly. Masij said, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Unless you have a live account, I would not recommend the chat bot. Yeah, because it just happens too fast. And also, when you use your live account, be ready to lose your money, right? Because you can go through a rogue phase where, um, like what I would say is have like just enough in your account where you're okay to lose it all. Right. I was gonna tell you that, Missy, because I know you have a quite a bit amount in your live account. Like I would just leave like maybe 10,000 in there, right? Or a couple thousand bucks, 5,000, whatever it may be. Because if it goes rogue, be ready to lose your account. Like your account's gonna and not go rogue with where the bot is not working, but go rogue into like a rogue market basically. Yeah, because it's gonna it's happened to me before, with the slippage, even with the lockout. So I have lockout on my NinjaTrader, and I have it where I can only lose about 2,000 per day. And one time I got caught in some slippage, and I lost like 3,000, and they didn't close out my account. It was still running. Uh, so I lost more than where I set my limit to. Yeah, Messi should, yes, be ready to lose 1,000 in less than a minute. It's possible. Yeah, if there's a breakout, you can get screwed really bad, really, really bad. Yeah, and Messi set his max risk to 1,000. Yeah, so there's going to be some like some breakers in order to like kind of protect your position if you get caught in something like that. But just be aware that like NinjaTrader is not the best platform, to be honest, guys. They're not the best platform. They're good for retail traders, but they're not the best platform. There's a lot of slippage. Sometimes your orders won't get filled. Go past your stop, and you'll be stuck in the position. Or even with the chop bot, the chop bot could also have malfunctions. So. I'm trying to give you guys all of the reasons to be aware because the last thing I want for you guys to do is use a tool like that and then your account's blown and you're upset. And I'm not recommending to use it either. So, right, it's going to be up to your own risk. Anyways, let me take these off right here. So the trade here at 721 is still running, guys. It's almost at its target. Again, we don't take the against momentum, so I was just marking them up to identify. But you can see the 721 is very spot on with the algo. It identified it to the T, and there you go. It's about to hit target. Full TP right there, guys. If you held it, great. If you guys didn't, it's okay. I think Paul here pulled out earlier for partial profit. Like I said, I'm an all or nothing type guy. If I was in this position, I would hold on to it to the full move, right? Hold on to it to the full loss, right? To the full win or to the full loss. And here you can see again, the algo was very spot on with identifying this entry. I posted this list last night, so I didn't randomly say, oh, this is based off price action, right? No, this is based off the statistics. This is why the statistics are important, right? I posted this trade right here. So I posted this last night at 8:19 p.m. We already knew the 721 position was coming up. I had the probabilities, I had the max equity drawdown, I had the profit factor, everything here lined up. And then at 721, that was the time where to take the entry. Right? We basically already knew this was going to happen before it happened based off the data. So again, this is the power of the algo. A lot of people like will trade based off discretion. This is a no discretion type strategy, right? It's all it's a quant strategy. It's based off quantitative data. If you guys like math, if you guys like probabilities, this is the perfect strategy to use for that type of style because you don't have to do any thinking. The only thinking you would do is if there's a flickering momentum, which we didn't have here, right? There was no flickering momentum at 721. So yeah, I mean there was no reason to avoid the entry there other than because it wasn't a listed entry. I mean, it wasn't a target entry. So, all right, we're going to close out this day with a win for this 721. So I'm just putting the details here for the against momentum. but we're not documenting it because we're not taking the against momentum trades. So for this week so far, we're currently at a 2R. There was one win for this week, which was at 721 entry. There was no trades here for the target entries. So for the target entries, it's a negative or it's a 0R because we didn't take anything. And then for all the entries here listed, it's currently at 2R for the week so far. So not too bad. Um, Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Another reminder, guys. So, just another reminder, good news and bad news. The good news is that we are officially transitioning to StoneX, which is the institutional broker. I don't know. I mean, they have a website. Let me see if it's. I mean, if you guys want to look at StoneX, you guys can look them up. Again, you guys can't sign up with them though. So StoneX is mainly for institutional clients, right? So we're under institutional clients right here. Like you can't just sign up. You have to contact them and you have to get on the institutional side. You don't really want to trade on the retail side. I don't even know if you can even sign up for the retail side. Let me see if there's any way to sign up here. Uh, yeah, there's no way to sign up for StoneX. If you wanted to sign up on your own, there's yeah, I mean there's no way for you to sign up. You have to be an institutional client to sign up with StoneX. So again, we're moving over to StoneX. If you guys are not familiar, this is one of the most you or basically it's one of the more well-known institutional brokers, but you can't sign up to StoneX as a normal trader or retail trader. You have to be an institutional client. The reason we were able to get onto StoneX was because I am an institutional trader now. I trade institutional size because I have X amount of clients and we're dropping a lot of volume into the market. So if you guys are part of the hedge fund or if you guys want to be part of the hedge fund, you guys can reach out to me if you guys go on the website. So if you guys are interested in joining the hedge fund and being part of this institutional trading side, just go to the website, which is CodyKaiCapital.com. There's going to be a button right here that says interested in investing. Click here for the investor interest form. You click on that, this form is going to come up. You're going to put your information in here. I'm going to run your information to the regulators and to StoneX to see if they're willing to bring you on as a client. If they are okay with it, then I will connect you to our account manager, and our account manager will get you started so that you can start set up your StoneX account, and then we will put it within the hedge fund accounts as a bunch shorter. So basically, you'll take the trades with us. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. The bad news though, so here's the bad news. The bad news is that the sign up has closed off for Cody Kai trades. I've been talking about this for the past couple weeks now. Here you can see on the website it says Cody Kai Trades is no longer accepting new clients or offering educational services to the public. The website's only meant for previous clients or people who have access to the strategies and the indicators. If you guys want access to this, just go to the contact us here, put your information, and then we'll talk. If you've been a member in the past and you missed out on the opportunity to get access to the live sessions or to the strategies or the algo, I'm open to sharing it with people who have been part of the group before. It's just not really open to the public anymore. If you're new and you just have been following us on the YouTube stream and you just haven't been able to take that leap, I mean, feel free to contact me. We could maybe work something out. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no more signups here. So if you go to the Cody Kai Trades page, there's no way to sign up. You can't sign up for the live sessions. You can't sign up for the Discord. You can't sign up for anything. Um, See, the sign up button is gone down here. There's just no way. The only thing you can do is contact me or the team or whatever. Um, so with that being said, a lot of this stuff is going to be taken down, guys. So a few things here. And this is going to happen over a period of time. It's not going to happen right away, but it's going to happen over a period of time. So you guys are familiar with the YouTube channel, right? I have over 6,000 or no, I have over 2,100 live trading sessions. All of these are going to be taken down. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any replays for you guys to watch. It'll be available to others, but not to the public. I'm still going to try to go live as much as I can. You can probably watch the live session, but you probably won't be able to watch the replays. I just want to put that out there. All these videos are going to come down. We've come to an agreement with the regulators that I can no longer educate. I know it sucks because I do like helping and teaching and giving ideas. Um, but the workaround with that is that I'll still be trading live, but it's just not going to be posted for the public to review. Like, for example, this live session from today, it's not going to be shared on the page. And the reason for that's because I'm not supposed to be sharing, these institutional strategies with the public. There's a whole reason why people don't know how hedge funds trade and stuff like that. It's because it's all secretive for the most part. And it's a good thing for not just us, but it's also a good thing for it's a pro and a con, right? It's a good thing because we're going to be protecting our edge. No, random people aren't just going to be able to pull up our strategies and follow our trades. But the people who are here now, you guys will continue to follow me and you're going to grow with the hedge fund, right? The hedge fund is going to get better. The strategies are going to they're going to improve over time. We're going to be more profitable with time because we're going to have that ability to trade on the institutional side. And you guys are going to be here to grow with me. So if you guys want to keep sitting in on these sessions, make sure that you're part of the Discord, right? The Discord, the links gets posted on here pretty much every morning. I'm still going to post the links on here. They're just not going to be live, like you're not going to be able to randomly find me. I think that's going to be the main thing. Yeah, Daniel said, I don't think it's bad news that it's no longer public. It's what's necessary for your growth. You deserve growth. Yeah. Um, I know it's necessary for us and it's necessary for the growth of the hedge fund. The only downside is that I like helping people, right? I think that's the biggest downside. It's more of a downside for me because I do like to mentor and I do like to teach trading and explain stuff because this helps me get better, right? Me teaching you guys what I'm doing and explaining what I'm doing and being very detailed about the stuff that we're looking at. This helps me become better as a trader. But we've gotten to that point where whoever's here, you guys are going to keep learning and you're going to keep getting better and you're going to keep uh you're basically going to keep growing with the hedge fund because I'm not going to stop learning and I'm not going to stop getting better at this. But it's just not going to be open to the general public. So, yeah. All right, guys, if there's any other questions that you guys have, let's see. Jacob said taking down the lives. No way. Yeah. So the lives will still be on here, but you have to be here for the actual live, Jacob. There just won't be replays. Yeah, there's just not going to be any replays. Yeah, Masisha, glad found you guys before it closed down. I know it was I was really trying to keep it up, but they sent me a letter of pretty much all these things I had to do. If you guys saw the Instagram, so let me show you guys the Instagram as well. So Instagram.com/Cody Kai Trades. Like I've already started taking down a lot of stuff. So if you've been on the Instagram, so this is the Instagram page. Basically, like the whole bio has changed now. It says legacy, trading education, close to new clients, prior purchases only, etc. All of these posts, this is gonna take me forever because there's like 581 posts. I have to take all these posts down like manually. I have to take them all down. So all the stuff here that we've kind of built up over the years, unfortunately, it's gonna come to an end. I have to take this stuff down. Um, and it's just going to be an ongoing process, right? They're basically making me take this down. I'm probably have to take down the entire website too at some point. Like this stuff right here is going to have to get taken down. Um, yeah, it's a little bit of a shitstorm, but it's all good. I mean, the main focus is really going towards the hedge funds, and that's kind of where we're going. But all right, guys, I think that might be it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Otherwise, I'll be here again tomorrow, guys. Same place, same time. Nothing changes. If you guys are here already, if you guys are part of the Zoom, if you guys are part of the streams or any of that stuff, nothing is changing. I'm just making making you guys aware that for the general public, they're just not going to be able to find me. You guys are welcome to refer your friends though. If you have friends, family, anybody who wants to learn and grow with us, you're more than welcome to share with them. It's just the random people are not going to be able to just come across Cody Kai trades or anything like that. But nothing's changing. I'm still trading live. Um, it's just going to be on a smaller scale where there's not going to be it's not going to be easily accessible. So just make sure to get on the Discord. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. If you're part of the Discord, you're not going to miss out on anything because everything's posted here. But if you're not on the Discord, it's going to be hard for you guys to follow. But all right, guys, that is it. Yeah, CJ said, bro, do not feel bad about not helping people. You're helping Lila pay for her baby's education. You're helping me make millions, and you're helping the rest of the KT fam. Yeah, no, definitely, CJ. Yeah. So for you guys that are here, like I said, nothing here is going to change. We're going to keep going as we go. Um, and if they make me pull stuff down, then we'll be low key. We'll still be doing what we're doing, but we'll be on the Discord. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, we're done for the day. If you guys looked at the list of trades for the day, there was only one trade that came up, which was at 721. That was a win. So for the week so far, we're currently up one win. For the target entries, no trades for the day. So we'll see how this plays out tomorrow and Wednesday as we close out this year strong. So, all right, guys, if you guys have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for the next live session.